Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Olweus. I'm Mrs. Klub, the social worker in House 1. As you can tell from the video that you just watched, our theme for today is substance abuse. Substance abuse has touched many of us in many different ways, and what we want to take a look at today is the culture at Orchard Park High School and how we are handling substance abuse issues, questions, and concerns. If we think about substance abuse in the Olweus framework, what we want to recognize is that we realize that not everyone has a substance abuse issue, but many of us are bystanders in many ways. And what can we do as a bystander, or what do we do if we do have that issue? So what we want to do today is ask some questions to some people in the building. We talked to Mr. Fisher, the House 3 principal, from an administrative standpoint. I answered some questions from a counseling or social work standpoint, and Officer Lukowski answered some questions as our new SRO. We hope that this information will give you some of the tools and resources that you may need in order to navigate anything that may come up in this high school with substance abuse. We want you to know that we are concerned and we care about you, and we want to help you through anything that you may be going through. Thank you.
The biggest area of concern always with drugs or alcohol in a school is student safety, just in general, globally. If the idea is a particular kind of drug or things that we're worried about seeing or something like that, I think the most prevalent things in a lot of schools now are probably marijuana dab, and probably pills, but I wouldn't say that we as an administration have a specific concern like, oh my gosh, this is on the rise, or I would say that our concern overall is the usage of drugs or alcohol by our students and their safety, both in school, at school functions, on school grounds, things like that, and primarily just focusing on their safety and making sure that they're okay.
So if you find yourself in a situation with one of your friends, or even not one of your friends, at a party where people are making bad decisions, obviously the first and most important thing is the safety of the individual you're with. So if they had too much alcohol or took a drug that they shouldn't have taken and they become sick, but you have to get them immediate help. You have to look past the fact that you're nervous about getting in trouble, because as far as law enforcement goes, the safety of that person is the number one priority. It's not getting someone in trouble for a mistake they made to do. So you have to get past that, call 911, or get to an adult who can make that decision for you as soon as possible. Again, the health of the person is the number one priority. If that situation goes really bad, you don't want to have to live with the fact that you didn't call 911 because you're afraid to get in trouble. So just make the right decision and think about the safety of everyone.
So who do you go to for help? Really, you need to look at who a trusted adult is. Obviously, me, you can come to me. We also have 2 other social workers in the building. In House 2, it's Mrs. Wolf. In House 3, it's Mrs. Whitman. And also, obviously, your counselors, administrators, a teacher, whoever you feel comfortable with, a coach. If you have questions or concerns, we are here. We will be your resource. We will talk to you through about whatever you're concerned about. But we want you to know that if you have questions and concerns, even if you just want to make them general to begin with, just to begin to explore some things you might have questions with. But please know the house offices are really here to help you work through whatever situation might be happening.
So that can be complicated. There's a lot of different dynamics that can happen in a situation like that. And it's difficult to answer because each situation is unique. If you see a transaction, but you're not seeing it, you might feel more comfortable going to a trusted adult and saying, I'm not 100% sure what I just saw, but I think I saw this. You want to try to make note of like the time of day that it happened, where it happened, and try to have as much detail as possible. If you don't know the names of the individuals that were involved in the transaction, other details like where it was, what time it was, what people were wearing, what you thought maybe was exchanged. But you want to try to find some adult in the building that you trust. If it happens here at school or a school function, whether or not that's your counselor or a teacher you know and trust, or maybe you know and trust one of the monitors or something like that, or your coach. So just finding an adult that you know and trust and sharing that information with them, and obviously doing so discreetly. It's not something that you want to walk into a classroom and just announce or something like that.
So upon turning 18 years old, it can change as far as a criminal issue. You can be charged with a crime. You can be charged as an adult. What we tend to do with someone younger than 18 is to send them to youth court. What happens when you go to youth court is you're basically going into a court, and the judge and the lawyers are students similar in age to you. So you're going to be judged by your peers, and they'll listen to the matter at hand, and they'll tell you what your consequence is, which is usually community policing, but also it's a one-time deal. If you get into trouble after attending youth court, then it turns into either a family court issue, or if you're 18, we'll go to Orchard Park Court.
If you're worried about a friend and aren't sure what to do, please come down to your house office, talk to somebody, talk to your counselor, talk to one of the social workers, talk to whoever that trusted adult is, because what we want to do is brainstorm with you, explore. It's not about dictating something, it's about helping to support you and to figure out the best direction, both for you and for that other person as well. So if you're worried about somebody, then come down, or you can talk to your parents and ask your parents to call for support. But we just don't want you to feel like you have to handle this on your own. And friends are fantastic, friends are great, but sometimes without that further life experience or having their own things going on, it's really good to find a trusted adult to confide in.
So if you are under the influence of drugs or alcohol at school, or on school grounds, or at a school function like prom, even though it's not actually in the building, it depends on what level of discipline you've already received for other things, but the starting point for that is an automatic 5-day out of school suspension. So if it's your very first offense at any point here in high school, that's the minimum, is a 5-day out of school suspension to begin. There are additional consequences that could come along with that. For example, if you're on an athletic team, there would be an additional athletic suspension that would go beyond the 5 school days, but that's usually something that's discussed with the coach, and usually there's an academic or an athletic eligibility policy involved. If it was not your first infraction for drugs or alcohol, it would be the minimum of 5 days, and there's follow-up with things called like superintendent's hearings, which could result in additional suspension lengths, anywhere from a couple of days to perhaps the remainder of the school year. So in general, the jumping off point for being under the influence of drugs and alcohol at school or at a school function, on school grounds, etc., is a minimum of 5 days, and then it escalates from there.
The drug and alcohol policy at the school will remain the same. It doesn't change because I'm here. Me being here as a school resource officer, if we do run into issues with drugs or alcohol, I'll be here to help with the situation. And if it's a serious matter where it turns into a criminal matter, obviously you can, the consequences of that can change as far as the law enforcement end of it.
So you want to help out. That's fantastic. Again, being part of the culture, the positive culture in the building is really important and exciting. One of the best ways is probably to join Student Wellness. There is an offshoot of that group that deals with drug and alcohol or substance abuse. Really coming down and talking and finding different ways to become involved in your house offices is also a really good idea. But that's fantastic. It's exciting. So if you're interested in helping a movement toward healthy lifestyles, then definitely come on down and have a conversation, and we can figure out where you fit best and where we can help you out.
So when, as far as law enforcement, when police officers arrive at an underage party, if we find that there are individuals there who are drinking that are underage, our normal procedure would be to, if you decide on if you are going to get charged for the underage drinking or be in possession of alcohol, and if you are charged, you're going to be brought to the police station and released to a parent or guardian. What we'll do is we'll test everyone at the party. We'll give them what it's called a roadside breath test, and at that point we'll determine if you were drinking or not. If you weren't drinking, we're still going to contact your parent and have them come and pick you up. And like I said earlier, if you have been drinking, we'll take you to the police station, issue you your ticket, and you will not be released until a parent or guardian comes to the police station.
So a prohibited substance in school, there's a lot of categories for that. And basically, it could be anything all the way down to aspirin and even vitamins or supplements, herbal supplements or supplements that you might be taking to work out or something like that. Really, anything is a banned substance at school. Cough syrup, Dayquil, using all of those examples. You really cannot have anything on your person, including aspirin, at all, because truthfully we don't know what those pills are. So if you are a person who experiences regular headaches, you actually have to have Tylenol in the nurse's office, and you actually have to have a parent or guardian bring that material into school, check it into the nurse, and there's a whole protocol for when you're supposed to have it, how you're supposed to ask for it, etc. So there's practices for all of that sort of thing. So really anything could be considered a banned substance here at school. So the obvious ones are tobacco products, vape devices, e-cigarettes, things like that. But that would also extend to anything that's like a pill or a powder, any sort of illegal substances, drugs, alcohol. Those are the obvious ones. But it could and does go all the way down to things like aspirin and Advil and those sorts of things. And like I said, even vitamins and supplements and things like that. So you just cannot have any of that on your person or in your locker or in your car, or even in the parking lot here at school.
So my seniors, realizing that a lot of you are going away to college, and you get there and the culture may be one with alcohol plenty, and you feel like everyone else is drinking all the time, all weekend, and you're not sure where you fit. What I have to say to that is that find your people. There are similarly liked people in all different areas. There are ways to get support, really being involved in school through clubs, activities, something like that, even if it's movie nights, something that you can do. I don't want you to feel like that is an expectation. You need to find your people and stick to what you know is a healthy lifestyle to keep yourself comfortable. But if you do feel like things are getting out of control, talk to your RA, talk to Residence Life, talk to anyone you can talk to. You might see a theme with a lot of the answers to my questions, but getting support and looking at situations as an individual is really important. And that's a life skill. That's something that you'll do forever, is finding your people who are there to support you and work things out individually for you. So good luck and enjoy your dorm life.
So school-related functions are basically treated just like an extension of the school day, or being on school grounds. So for example, if you were under the influence of drugs or alcohol, or were in possession of like an e-cigarette or something like that, and you were at a off-site football game or lacrosse game or something like that, or even if it was on-site, or for example, you were in possession or under the influence like on a music trip or a field trip or something like that, all of the school rules still apply. Again, sometimes there is additional athletic penalties in addition to the academic penalties. So for example, there's a spectator code of conduct. So if you were under the influence or in possession of something that you shouldn't be at one of those, you could be barred entry for an additional period of time besides the actual academic consequences of a suspension. So you might not be able to attend basketball games for the remainder of the season or something like that. So there can be additional consequences too, besides just the traditional out-of-school suspensions.